former Montrealer, comedian, Fox News contributor, passionate Tea Party supporter, and Lee Camp, also comedian and I would say honorary Montrealer. He spent some time here. A writer for The Onion, he believes strongly in the Occupy Wall Street movement. Both of these gentlemen, very popular comedians who've been making waves online this past year, and for the first time, we have them debating each other. Which movement made more of an impact 2011? Who's going to win the presidency, Obama or his yet to be determined Republican challenger? Lee and Stephen join me right now. Lee, hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Very well. I just want to get a sense of voice so that people know, where the left is and where the right is. And now over to the right, Stephen.
Hello, good sir. How are you? Glad to be here.
Very well. Dratch, you're
I don't like the term debate. Can we say angry discussion?
Angry discussion it is then. Do we agree, Stephen?
Sure, that's fine. I'm not that angry, but let's get the viewers in here, the listeners.
All right, it's early yet. Let's begin. The news generally portrays Occupy Wall Street and the Tea Party movements as generally extreme left and extreme right, respectively, roughly speaking. Do you accept that categorization? Shall we begin? Lee, you first.
No, I certainly don't. And I think if your news is giving you that, then you're getting your news in the wrong place. You're probably getting your news from a corporate-run beast that, and I don't mean beast in that everything they do is evil. I just mean it's a giant entity that has a lot at stake in this and doesn't want to see the people standing up and standing up for their rights and standing up to get money out of politics and that kind of thing. So no, I wouldn't say it's far left at all. And if you look at the marches, the bigger marches that were with Occupy, the 20,000 in New York and the thousands in other cities, it's very much not extremist. It's unions, it's teachers, it's nurses, it's everybody.
All right, Lee. Stephen, what do you think?
Well, firstly, obviously, you're not getting your news from some kind of corporate entity. You're getting it from the government, generally there in Canada with things like CBC and Radio Canada. So it would be the exact
Wait, you hold on. Who's you?
States. So what I think here is, no, I would agree with Lee that I don't think it's extreme right and extreme left. I think you probably get a lot of people at the Occupy movement who just are frustrated and don't really know what to do. But, at a certain point, you have to look at the numbers and say, okay, well over 400 crimes committed, violence, places being trashed, as opposed to the Tea Party where people have gathered peacefully. Listen, people can protest peacefully. And I think we need to determine the difference between protesting and disturbing the peace. Now, I certainly don't think the Tea Party is very far right. Tea parties, generally consist of a lot of libertarians, and then you also have some social conservatives, a little bit of a wider gamut.
All right, now we've got to set that, and we won't agree that the terms left and right fit as.
Let me address these numbers, which I don't know where he's getting these crime statistics, but.
I was a victim of several of them, and I have the numbers at thegovernment.com. I've documented them from police reports.
All right, one at a time, Stephen. Lee, finish.
But let me just say that a lot of the crimes that are committed down there are committed by, homeless people and people that had a lot of issues before they showed up at the Occupy movement. Now, why are they showing up at the Occupy area? Because there's free food and there's free clothes and there's people that care about them. And so you're right. These homeless people, and they're not going to be kicked out. And they have a lot of issues, and they need help with those issues. And I think the fact that there are people with empathy down at these areas that are willing to try and help these people, I think that should be looked as something beautiful, rather than, oh, look at all the crimes. Oh, look, a homeless person did something. Oh, it's so these occupiers are horrible people. How about the fact that we aren't going to kick them out, and we're going to let them have free food and free clothing and that kind of thing?
All right.
Well, if I can address that, firstly, in Zuccotti Park, you turn them away. In places like Denver,
they weren't turned away. They absolutely were not. I don't know where you got that.
Well, then there was. I'm gonna move on to another topic, though. But I will say that even here, and I know you came to this camp, Lee, there was some division where they tried to do a separation on that and separate the two camps. Let's move on though, because Stephen,
separate what kind of people?
You're going to have to defend your Tea Party a little more here, Stephen. What has the movement? What do you think the Tea Party movement has achieved this year?
Well, listen, I myself am not necessarily a Tea Partier, but I support the movement. I know the Tea Party folks are wondering where the Occupy movement were 2 years ago, because, listen, they agree on the same premise. You're against big bailouts. You're against a corporate relationship between big government and banks. Hey, I'm on board completely. I couldn't be more against the Wall Street bailouts. But believing that the solution to that is increasing the size of government and giving more control over the general populace is where I get off the bus. I disagree with that. Now, the Tea Party, they really did gather, and they have one unified purpose, and it affected real political change in Washington. You can see that in 2010. I think it's interesting now to sort of see the dynamic where, and I'm not in the business of endorsing candidates, but the Republican primaries now are sort of basically a vote on who can appease the Tea Party right now because they're trying to keep them accountable, whereas you see the president has sort of thrown the Occupy movement under the bus. He's playing a little bit of a distance game, the more unruly that it gets.
All right. What do you think the Tea Party has achieved, Lee?
Well, I think we agree on a lot of things. I think we agree that bailout was ridiculous and it's socialism for mega corporations, and I feel like you don't see the if the Tea Party or if the right wing agrees with that so much, then why attack the Occupy movement so much? In fact, they should be saying, "Hey, we agree. This is socialism for Wall Street." And instead, you don't hear that. And in terms of the president distancing himself, I couldn't agree more. We have a corporate-run government. I mean, or a billionaire-run government. And so, I support some of Obama's decisions more than I do the right. But in terms of him distancing himself from Occupy, absolutely. I mean, Obama is he's a Bush light. And so, yeah, of course he does.
All right, rebuttal, Steve.
No, I think he's right, and I think that's very forthcoming that he talks about Barack Obama distancing himself from the Occupy movement. Here's the thing. The Tea Party has been very open in saying we agree with that premise, but they don't agree with raising taxes. And here's the big difference. Obviously, now listen, like I said, biggovernment.com, you can go read it. This is an unofficial rap sheet with sources from police reports, from local media outlets that include rape, theft, felonies, assault on police officers, well over 400. So the Tea Party obviously wants a distance.
Assault on police officers, right.
Let me finish. Considering that there has been zero crimes committed at Tea Parties. So when you look at that, then you look at the fact that Tea Partiers, so listen, they're not out there protesting their own self-interest, okay? I think that's the pivotal sort of difference here is that people say, well, these Tea Partiers, they just want to help the super wealthy. Most of these people are middle class. They don't even realize their taxes won't go up. No, that's exactly right. You don't see a Tea Partier out there with a sign saying, pay my tuition or raise taxes on the wealthy. It shows you that it's not narcissistic about voting in their own self-interest, but about what's right and wrong and getting back to the principles of the constitutional republic.
All right, Stephen, let's get back to Lee on what you think the Occupy movement has accomplished this year.
Well, he's doing a much better job of shilling his right-wing website than I am mine, but you can find my stuff at leekamp.net.
Well, you don't have a right-wing website, do you?
That's not my website.
In terms of the Tea Party, well, first of all, they're not being cracked down upon by the police as the Occupy has. They're not, they're not, yes, they're peaceful, and we've been peaceful, but we get pepper sprayed and we get, beaten and things. I had a friend the other day arrested, and you can watch the video, arrested for tweeting. So these things, yeah, it's incredibly violent. I mean, it's ridiculous, these ideas you're coming up with. But secondly,
why hasn't it ever happened at a Tea Party? Why have there been no arrests?
I think you would agree that this system we're in, this Wall Street system we're in, is completely unsustainable. You've got 1% of the population with the same amount of wealth as the bottom 40%. You've got 74 of the richest Americans with the same amount of money as 119 million. 74 people, the same as 119 million. This is why this thing continues to collapse and why you need this socialism, this corporate socialism, in order to fix it. So it's ridiculous. I mean, it's intellectually disingenuous to say, oh, we can't, close these loopholes these tax loopholes on the top 1%, and yet we're going to have a system that continues without collapsing.
Well, let's see how far. Okay, guys, just a time. I'm going to time out in our angry discussion, and it's starting to get there.